So people are by now pretty familiar with a chatbot and what it's like, and it's amazing that this thing is already ordinary. But connecting with someone you disagree with on a topic about which you feel quite passionate, that can be a profound experience that can really move students and bring them back for a lot more than a session with ChatGPT. So it's really all very focused on the human connection, and the AI is there in the background. So imagine you send a needlessly hostile message, perhaps in the context of a discussion about Israel-Palestine. A lot of students have tremendous moral passion around the subject. So the first thing we do is, before we transmit that message, we read it. And we have a model that we've fine-tuned to generate charitable rephrasing. So our aim with this model is, you type some angry statement, and then it sends you back a thing and says, hey, maybe you want to send this one instead. And our aim is that you will get that message and go, oh my God, this thing understands me better than my wife of 20 years. But we want it to deeply get you. So you can be, it's going to retain the core thing you were trying to say, the point that is actually worth making, but without whatever invective or, needless.
Or judgment or implied judgment. It's simply a dispassionate analysis of what it is you're trying to say.
Yes, and we find people overwhelmingly accept the suggestions. And that, moreover, over the course of a discussion, they trigger this thing less and less and less. I will say that I was just then reflecting on empirical studies with sort of regular American partisans. I will say one of the most important things to come out of our studies with students, and we've now got a fairly large sample, thousands of students who have engaged in very challenging discussions. They are absolutely nothing like what they might be like on social media. So there's an archive of tens of thousands of messages on the most challenging topics. And it's, I think, 0.3% that are flagged as potentially unconstructive. So students are nothing like the caricature you would get from social media. So that first level of the AI doesn't really actually play that big a role for the students, although it does in empirical studies. And it's funny, with high school students, they kid around a lot more and they trigger it a lot more. But the thing that's really there for college students is the guide. So it's basically got two sort of functions. It's in the background and it's agentic. So it will be trying to figure out if it's a good time to interject, and if so, what's the way it ought to interject. But it's already filtered out, that filtering system that I mentioned, the rephraser, that actually you only get to if you've gone through one earlier check. So Sway is not a free speech platform. It's a free inquiry platform. And that means that there's a lot of speech which just doesn't work on Sway. Right. Simple example, slurs. Whatever you think of slurs and whether they ought to be banned universally or what, doesn't matter. We can all agree that slurs are going to undermine the possibility of having a constructive disagreement across a significant moral, political, social difference. So we just block them. You just get a message from the system that says, we're not sending that.
Yes.
Try another message. So we filtered all that.
I noticed, I saw that, and I was quite startled when I first saw it, because it seemed like a heavy hand was coming in.
Yeah.
But on reflection, I liked it a lot, because there is this thing we talk a lot about HXA. We're trying to do a certain kind of dialogue, a certain kind of discourse, something like open inquiry. And again, I just want to emphasize for our listeners, you're constructing this in such a way where the interlocutor is of a very different viewpoint. So you're now directly, through a mediator, interacting with someone who is not in your group.
Yeah,
by definition.
Yeah, when we're on these polarized issues, we've got a lot of tribalism. Yeah, you're connecting with someone from the other tribe. So what will happen there is guide will be there in the background, sort of contemplating whether to interject. It doesn't have to deal with the nonsense that we've already filtered out. So it will be asking you to provide evidence for your claims. It will be asking you to respond if you haven't responded to what your partner had earlier said, some claim that they had made. It will basically be a demanding professor who wants you to reason as well as you can, wants your discussions to be grounded in evidence, and is otherwise friendly and supportive, but very, very demanding. So it will interject in this sort of way, but then the students can call it in manually. So sometimes the students it's going so well that we just don't interject at all. We're just like, these kids are having an amazing discussion. Let's just let that unfold. If we see a spot where we think we can deepen it, then we'll intervene. But sometimes they're just doing fantastically. In that case, the guide is still available for them as a tool which they can call. So they can just start a message, hey, guide. And we see this a lot. So we can give factual information when they want factual information. We can reconstruct arguments charitably when that's what they want. And it's pretty amazing, especially in the empirical studies where there's so much misinformation in people's heads that when they get corrected by an AI, you sort of never know what's going to happen. But we found extraordinary deference actually to the model. We've tried to develop it so it has a very high degree of epistemic humility. It doesn't take a strong stand on topics which are sort of reasonably contested, whatever exactly that means.